Good morning and welcome to the regular meeting of City Council for Wednesday, December 28th, 2022. A meeting announcement: all meetings are live streamed on the City Channel Pittsburgh YouTube channel. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Reverend Burgess, Mr. Coghill, Ms. Gross, Mr. Kraus, Mr. Lavelle.
Sorry, this is Miss Gross. I am here. I couldn't get my speaker on.
Mrs. Strasburger.
Here.
Mrs. Warwick.
Here.
Mr. Wilson.
Here.
Mrs. Kelsmith, President.
Here.
6 members present.
Thank you. As we join from our remote locations, please rise if you are able to join us for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence. And today I ask that you keep in your thoughts during the moment of silence John Rooney, who's the son of Art Rooney Sr., who just passed away. Of course, Franco Harris, still a great Franco Harris, and we can say more about him at the end of the meeting. And Councilman Coghill had somebody that he wanted to include. It was Gary Nimacotti's brother from DPW, and his name is Thomas. And so with that said, please keep them all in your during the moment of silence in your thoughts. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, please be seated. Our next order of business is to amend the agenda. Is there a motion to amend the agenda?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, any discussion? All in favor? Agenda is amended. And we have one proclamation to be read into the record by Councilwoman Strasburger.
Councilmember Strasburger presents, be it further resolved that the Council of the City of Pittsburgh does hereby declare December 30th, 2022 to be Pittsburgh Jewish Chronicle Day in the City of Pittsburgh.
Can we have a motion to approve in a second?
So move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion, Councilwoman?
No, thank you.
Thank you. And our next order of business is public comment. And I would like to remind everyone that the rules of council state that comments are limited to matters of concern, official action, or deliberation, which are or may be before City Council. Profanity and threats will not be permitted. And Councilman, did you want to say something really quick about Gary's brother?
Yes, Tommy Namiaka, he was a longtime employee of Public Works. He retired a few years back, but just please keep him in your memories and your prayers. I'd like to, include him in our moment of silence. His brother's a very good friend of mine, and they're both really two dedicated employees of Public Works, so wish we had more like them.
They really are, and we did include them. Thank you.
Thank you.
So maybe we have the first registered speaker. The first registered speaker I have is Ikahana Held-McKenna.
Sorry, Madam President.
Wait, first speaker. Let's get the first speaker, then I'll go back to you. Is it okay? Is the first speaker online? She's on the phone. Ikahana Held-McKenna, first speaker, please. One more time. Ikahana Held-McKenna. Good morning.
Greetings and good day to all the members of City Council. I just stopped by to lend you my wisdom. Now, what you decide to do with them will be up to each individual assembled at the table that you're sitting at today. Now, sat through numerous discussions held citywide concerning the American Rescue Plan funds. Lots of community input was given. Rarely has any of that input been considered. A few weeks ago, I got word that you all were considering utilizing the American Rescue Plan funds to pay people's unpaid medical bills. Now, the last time I checked, as recently as this rising, no one I knew was stressed out about having unpaid medical bills. I did, however, find dozens of people stressing over paying high utility bills, an exorbitant amount of money for food. I even know a City of Pittsburgh employee who is currently living without gas. But I also know others dealing with the same fate. As you all know, it's been really cold in this region recently. I don't know about you, but knowing that there are funds that could address some of these issues is very unsettling for me. There is a disconnect between City Council and the people that you are supposed to serve. I urge you to do something bold, to do something courageous. Find a way. Because when City Council has their eyes set on doing something, they find a way to make it possible. They find the funds to make it possible. Your constituents need you to find the funds to make their lives easier. Is it not disturbing that you have an employee of the City of Pittsburgh that currently at this very moment right now is in a cold home with one space heater in one room just to stay warm? I find that very disturbing. I don't know how that you can proceed on to relieve people of bills that don't even matter to them. No one's stressing about their medical bills. Newsflash. People are stressing over limited ability to purchase food and pay for utilities. With inflation on the rise, I urge you to do something bold, different, and pave a way to make sure that your constituents could at least afford to pay for gas and or light and or water. And I yield. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Poma Chokman.
Elake, Alakaim, delight in me, honors, delight in you. I am East Pomai Chakmam Yahalahi. I am the shaman, the medicine woman. I'm the healer of the Iroquois Confederacy of Aboriginal American People. And also for the City of Pittsburgh and the residents and the people who live in the city. I've worked in this city for many, many years, upwards of over 15 to be exact. The work that I do has also trickled over into all of the residents, regardless of their ethnicity, regardless of their socio-political status, regardless of how they identify. And I've always given our traditional healing methodologies in a loving and caring way. I've worked as the co-chair for the Urban Agricultural Working Group underneath the Pittsburgh Food Policy Council for many years, and I sat by Dan and many other people who fought hard to create a way for legislation to be passed in Harrisburg so that the local urban gardeners could have a way to grow food, to have some kind of assistance. And that wasn't actually equitable, as we discovered later, but it was a dent in the issue and gave some help, some assistance. So I know that the emergency rescue plan is also addressing the food inequality in the city of Pittsburgh. And I implore Deb Gross, I know has been a staunch advocate for urban agriculture. I implore Deb Gross to step aside her own maybe ideologies of who is most needed and most deserving of assistance as you pass this legislation to provide a fund for the Pittsburgh Food Policy Council. And don't forget that as Aboriginal American people, the true indigenous people of the Americas, that all of you are still on stolen land and you're occupying our spaces and places and no one owns our land. So to be fair, just, and equitable would be to include in these things, in these policies, remedy for the Aboriginal American people. We were the first stewards of our land, and we still steward, and we taught everyone, all of your ancestors, how to grow food, how to survive. So all the methodologies of agriculture have a basis in our culture, have a basis in our longevity and history of permaculture, chinampas, and various other ways of growing food, catching water, sustaining the land, repairing what has been done to our land is also your responsibility. So as we find spaces and places that we choose to turn into food forests, be mindful. Be mindful that you all have an obligation and a debt.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Dr. Ronald Lynn Miller. Dr. Miller.
Dr. Ronald Lynn Miller, Beltuver, Reykjavik, Iceland, a model for us. Global Intelligence Society, U.S. National Candidate for President 2024. GlobalIntelligenceSociety.org. A concern of Pittsburgh City Council Ultra is equity. And so, Jama'i, Jinsi, Eshauza, sex, gender equity. A concern of mine is anti-equity, but pro-equality in existence, inequality in or from experience, and differences in achievement. By male, I mean a genetic XY individual, and by female, a genetic XX. Sekuzu, Seibetsu, desu Nihongo, SG equity to Mr. Gainey, Ms. Kill Smith, and to the Pittsburgh government-funded Sex Gender Equity Commission means a pattern of awarding females over males for resources, primarily because they are female. That's a description. Sexo Género, Espanol, Sex Gen Equality to RLM and the Global Intelligence Society means rewarding female over a male resource applicant because the female is superior in achievement. Sex Geschlecht, Deutsch, Sex Gen Equity seeks to ward off male SG injustice via female SG injustice. That's no justice. It's sexism. Jing, Jingbie, Zhongwo, Yuan, Mandarin. Sex Gen Equality seeks to counter SG injustice by warranting female achievement, producing justified, just inequality, sex gen inequality from competition. I graduated 5th in my class from Westminster College with a 3.95 out of 4 average. Top male, but Kathleen Sue Anderson was the first, 4 out of 4. KSA's achievement was superior to mine, an inequality, but justified inequality. We married. I engaged as a participant at Pittsburgh Theological Seminary in the course Women and the Church, the only male among 13 females, including the instructor. At the end of the class, all but one stood to sing I Am Woman. Now, is that, should I seek equity as a consequence of that? Or is that I just leave it at unjust inequality? How do you resolve these things in relationship to this concept of equity, which in fact is a form of sexism?
Next speaker is Naomi Mullen. Naomi Mullen.
Good morning.
Good morning, Naomi.
Happy New Year, Teresa.
Good morning.
Shady trees, not shady deals in Bon Air. According to the Pennsylvania Constitution, the purpose of government is for the peace, safety, and happiness of the people they serve. The Bon Air Memorial Green Space is the solution for the peace, safety, and happiness of the Bon Air community. Without that, there is no valid governance. Pennsylvania was one of the first 13 colonies that stood against tyranny of England. I assure you that the founding fathers of the United States did not think that the people were childlike mentality. They could not make their own choices. We do not consent to a detrimental building remaining to decay the community we have built and maintained. Former Mayor Peduto was defeated and left in disgrace. He appointed a panel that claimed the Bon Air Elementary building should remain. We, the people of Bon Air, have driven past former school buildings and heard the stories of defecation in the hallways and criminal acts around those buildings. We, the people, say no to any use of the school except as a green space. It's almost a week from the anniversary of my husband's passing. This was read at his funeral. Retired Deputy Chief Mike Mullen touched the lives of many. His uncompromising dedication to his sworn duty to provide for the safety of the citizens of Pittsburgh was truly exceptional and one that should be emulated by every firefighter. He loved sharing his knowledge of firefighting in all its many aspects to make our firefighters safer, smarter, and more efficient on the fire ground. Mike knew most of the firefighters on the entire Pittsburgh Bureau of Fire by their first name and was always approachable, regardless of rank. If you had a question, he would stop what he was doing to answer it. He worked tirelessly, but also energetically his entire career in pursuit of more knowledge. His legacy will serve our citizens and firefighters for years to come. Michael J. Mullen lived a full life, as his obituary so accurately described. Mike was passionate, tireless, dedicated, highly conscientious, and caring. Well done, Michael. Well done. Rest in peace, my friend. Open deals in Bon Air. Councilman Kraus made a deal to gain McKinley Park from us. Now we want a green space in place of the detrimental school building. Acquire Bon Air School for $1, tear it down, use Pittsburgh Trees and Parks tax money to make a green space. I might also add that my husband was not only courageous on the fire ground, but he stood up to tyranny within government and against bad decisions. He worked for the peace, safety, and happiness of.
Thank you, Naomi. And that exhausts our list of registered speakers. If we have anyone wishing to address City Council in the audience, please approach the podium and state your name and neighborhood for the record, please. Councilwoman.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.
My name is Les Ludwig, 6589 Rosemore Street in Squirrel Hill. I'm here today with an associate, a former captain of the police force of the city of Pittsburgh, a gentleman with 55 years of police work. And you'll say, well, geez, what are you bringing to the table, Les? We've got a shooting problem. And we don't have a solution currently. We're going to go downstairs to the 4th floor to the public safety office after this presentation for a first meeting with Mr. Jones, who's the head of that department. So why am I up here discussing it first? Because I want it publicly known that we're operating in reverse. Instead of welcoming new thinking, instead of saying, wow, Les put $1 million in the bank for us, what the heck can he do with his associate with a shooting problem? Yes, I can. We've figured out a way in which to do it that would reduce the statistics by 25%, probably over a period of 6 months. Nobody's going to stop the problem completely, but let's cut it. It's time to do something significant about it. And don't tell me you don't have a contract. That's where the mistake is. And it's all the way up to, by the way, up to the federal government, because my son in Washington, D.C., who's employed by the federal government, says that it's the same there. You have to have a contract. No, you don't have to have a contract. You have to have a concept that solves a problem. And you have to be listened to. And it's absent. So my job is to stir the pot and say, wake up. Pittsburgh should be first. not last. I have an invoice that was requested by the administration, by the head of contracts, Mr. Dunham, and it calls for payment for earlier work.
Thank you,
When am
Mr.
I
Ludwig.
going to get paid?
Thank you, Mr. Ludwig.
And then I'll go on to
Thank you for coming down, Mr. Ludwig. Next
Doing-
speaker, please.
something new.
Next speaker, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ludwig. Next speaker.
May it please the council, my name is Aim Comparator, and these are to be entered into the record in their entirety. I wish to say that I solidly support Starbucks Workers United. I'm here today for two reasons today instead of one. First, I'd like to quickly address the report that I have on the last page of these regarding Presley Street high-rise. As we all know, Winter Storm Elliott was not kind to any Pittsburgher, especially on the north side. Presley Street went 12 hours without electric and heat. It's also electric-based heat, so when we go without power, we go totally into an icebox. I'm on the 12th floor myself. 4 hours into that loss of power, I was shaking and quivering. And many others were as well. I called instead, since I did not have my Twitter account acting appropriately as I would have expected it to, I went to emails. And first, I want to thank Councilman Wilson, a few people from the mayor's office, and the like, because without your help, we could not have helped these people. And for that, I am deeply grateful. Director Binion was the first one to respond to me over the phone. He promised heated buses to me directly, very early on, and they never received them. Not a one. I don't give my words lightly. Speaking of public safety, I had addressed on the email Joy Picard Miller, who is the head of public safety for Housing Authority of the City of Pittsburgh, and like many good people is on vacation until January 3rd. However, in a public safety and health crisis, she should have been one of the first ones to respond, and she did not. I would like council to hold her accountable and have her called to explain her inactions for that day. If she refuses to come forth and does not explain her inactions, then I ask for the removal from her post. Public safety, the city of Pittsburgh has its name on our housing authority. This is the face, right, and believe it or not, of the housing authority outside of Ross Street. And Starbucks, as you'll see, is mentioned here, and there are some serious problems with our Starbucks that are going on.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any further speakers wishing to address City Council? Good morning, Ms. Brown.
Good morning. My name is Javon F. Brown. I live at 715 Mercer Street. That's at the top of Bedford Avenue. Also, I didn't have any heat for Christmas, but with Brownie, my husband lives in another apartment across the hall. My daughter was able to cook, so I didn't have to cook this Christmas. I wanted to come down today and let you know about Franco. I tried to write a poem for him, and it's something like, you have to excuse it, but it says, Franco, my protesting friend, we have come to the end, an end of an era. In these recent years, it has come to be more clear. We protested together to give some food for thought, but this bunch, they would not permit us. I know you're not a quitter. Okay, what had happened, that's when the casino was getting ready to be built, and I went to speak in Franco, but we weren't registered. But I'm fussing with Franco because I'm saying, wait a minute, you're our hero, city hero, and how come Smokey Robinson could speak? He came all the way from Chicago. So we fussed so much, they went and got the big boss. And he came, but it still was a loss. But he was explaining to me, he showed me all these emails from the corporations, and he was explaining, Mrs. Brown, I wouldn't be able to let you speak because you didn't sign up their email. But I said, they have a company, so all they have to do is push a button. So he was explaining to me that I should have been able to write them. So I said, I got to pay money to be able to speak in my city, where you have nowhere that we could physically sign up in Pittsburgh. We could have signed up somewhere. But he told me, I had one little part I wanted to read. I heard your heartfelt words of go, Mrs. Brown, and make them hear what we must bear. It's about the refuse to hear, because they refused to hear my words of concerns and views. He was outside, this is years, sometime later, he was outside the hallway going to see the mayor, and I said, Mr. Harris, and that's when he told me these words, he told me to go and tell you to make sure you hear what we must bear. And he also says, you don't know what you don't know. Like people coming from out of town, even Smokey Robinson, I listen to his songs, I dance to his songs, but I don't feel he should be able to come from Chicago and speak, and I'm here in Pittsburgh, I can't speak. You have nowhere for me to sign up physically. All right, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Ms.
Have
Brown.
a nice day. I wasn't fussing, I'm just letting you know how it should have been.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your comments. Do we have any further speakers wishing to address City Council at this time? Good morning.
Morning. How's everyone? Happy
Good.
holidays. I'm here with Amy in regards to Amy. I support Amy. And I wanted to see how we can make a current program that is actually in Philadelphia active in Pittsburgh. So the Starbucks Outreach Worker Program, which launched in 2020 and recently expanded into 8 U.S. cities, is a unique partnership between Starbucks, nonprofits that have street outreach experts. The goal is to support retail partners, employees, which also address society issues like homeless, mental health, and substance use disorders. The program was designed in response to partners sharing the challenges they face in high complexity markets. It's currently in Seattle, Los Angeles, New York, Washington, D.C., San Diego, Philadelphia, and Chicago and Denver. So my goal is to see what do we have to do as Pittsburgh residents to be able to bring this program to our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for addressing City Council. Are there any further speakers wishing to address City Council? Are there any further speakers? Seeing no further speakers, prior to moving on to our next order of business, which is presentation of papers, Councilwoman Warwick, you had some comments you wanted to make?
Oh, yes, thank you. Just prior when we did the moment of silence, I just wanted to mention that there was a woman who was killed in my district on 2nd Avenue, hit by a truck. It was very unfortunate accident, and I just wanted to, my thoughts go out to her family, and I just wanted to mention that.
Do you want to do another moment of silence?
Sure.
We can do a moment of silence. Moment of silence, please.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Warwick, for bringing that to our attention. And our next order of business is the presentation of papers. Councilman Burgess, Chair of Human Resources. Councilman Coghill for Councilman Burgess.
No new papers, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman. And Councilman Coghill, Chair of Public Works.
Thank you,
who
Madam
did a great
President.
job this weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Coghill presents Bill Number 1092, Resolution amending Resolution 685 of 2022, effective December 2nd, 2022, which further amended Resolution number 797 of 2017, entitled Resolution Adopting and Approving the 2018 Capital Budget and the 2018 Community Development Block Grant Program and the 2018 through 2023 Capital Improvement Program by updating the fund code for JDE job numbers. And Bill number 1093, Resolution amending Resolution number 686 of 2022, effective December 2nd, 2022, which further amended Resolution number 863 of 2018, effective January 1, 2019, entitled Resolution Adopting and Approving the 2019 Capital Budget and the 2019 Community Development Block Grant Program and the 2019 through 2024 Capital Improvement Program by updating the JDE job number for the new Complete Streets deliverable.
Thank you. And Councilwoman Gross,
Madam
Intergovernmental
President-
Affairs.
Madam President, I'm sorry. If I could, I'd like to request a waiver of the rules of council on both of those 1092 and 1093.
Motion to waive the rules of council. Any discussion? Do we have a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The bill will appear on the standing committee agenda, which is. And Councilwoman Gross, Chair of Intergovernmental Affairs.
No new papers, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And Councilman Kraus, Chair of Public Safety Services. Councilman Lavelle for Councilman Kraus.
No new papers, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman. And Councilman Lavelle, Chair of Finance and Law.
Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman.
Councilman Lavelle presents Bill number 1094, Resolution amending Resolution 724, entitled Resolution Making Appropriations to pay the expenses of conducting the public business of the City of Pittsburgh and for meeting the debt charges thereof for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2023, by updating the general fund sum in Section 1 and the pay-go transfer in Section 2. Bill 1095, Resolution amending Resolution 727, entitled Resolution Authorizing Appropriations and Salaries of the Stop the Violence Fund for the 2023 fiscal year, beginning January 1, 2023, by updating the proposed expenditures for the 2023 fiscal year. And Bill 1096, Resolution amending Resolution 728, entitled Resolution Authorizing Appropriations, Salaries, and Capital Expenditures of the Parks Trust Fund for the 2023 fiscal year, beginning January 1, 2023, by updating the transfer from the Parks Trust Fund to the 2023 capital budget.
Madam President,
Yes, Councilman.
I'd like to make a motion to waive Rule 8 so that these three bills can appear on this morning's standing committee agenda.
Thank you. We have a motion. We have a second. Do we have any discussion? Or do we have a second?
Oh, second.
Do we have any discussion? Thank you, Councilwoman. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The bills will appear on tomorrow's standing committee agenda. Do we have 5 still? 1, 2, 3,
We do.
4, 5. Okay, just making sure. Okay, thank you. And Councilwoman Strasburger, Chair of Urban Recreation.
No new papers, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And Councilwoman Warwick, Chair of Innovation, Performance, and Asset Management.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman.
Councilwoman Warwick presents Bill number 1097, Resolution amending Resolution 747 of 2019, which authorized Mayor and the Director of the Department of the Office of Management and Budget to enter into an agreement or agreement with Mansfield Oil Company for fuel card management and system implementation services by extending the term for 3 years and by increasing the authorized spend by $32,400 for a new total cost not to exceed $81,385.
Thank you. And Councilman Wilson, Chair of Land Use and Economic Development.
No new papers, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman. And
Thank
myself,
you.
Chair of Hearings. I have no new papers, but we now need a motion to recess this regular meeting and reconvene our recessed standing committees meeting from December 19th. Can I have a motion to recess?
So move.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is recessed. Councilman, you want to just cheer from here?
I'll just sit here and do it.
No, come on. So the public can see.
All right, so good morning and welcome to the reconvenings of the Standing Committee meeting from Monday, December 19th, 2022. Just for both the, members' clarification as well as the public, we recessed that meeting because we had questions on three bills on our P cards. What was discovered was those bills should be paid under contract, so we actually do not need to have those reappear on today's agenda. They will be paid under contract. With that, we do have bills that will need affirmative recommendations in order to go back onto our regular meeting agenda today. You want to start with the ones Anthony introduced, Madam President, or the budget bills?
You know, I just had the conversation with Louise, and she said it might be best to hold that until the 4th.
Okay.
So, sorry about that.
No problem. So can we read bills 292 and 293, and then we'll entertain the motion to hold?
Bill 1092, Resolution amending Resolution Number 685 of 2022, effective December 2nd, 2022, which further amended Resolution Number 797 of 2017, entitled Resolution Adopting and Approving the 2018 Capital Budget and the 2018 Community Development Block Grant Program and the 2018 through 2023 Capital Improvement Program by updating the fund code for JDE job numbers. And Bill 1093, Resolution amending Resolution Number 686 of 2022, effective December 2nd, 2022, which further amended Resolution 863 of 2018, effective January 1, 2019, entitled Resolution Adopting and Approving the 2019 Capital Budget and the 2019 Community Development Block Grant Program and the 2019 through 2024 Capital Improvement Program by updating the JDE job number for the new Complete Streets deliverable.
Motion to
Hold until January 4th.
hold until, was it January 4th? Yeah, January 4th. Thank you.
Second.
All
Thank you.
those in favor say aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Both bills will be held until January 4th. That will move us into our Financing Committee, which is chaired by myself. We have three supplemental papers, the first being Bill 1094.
Bill 1094, Resolution amending Resolution 724, entitled Resolution Making Appropriations to pay the expenses of conducting the public business of the City of Pittsburgh and for the meeting the debt charges thereof for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2023, by updating the general fund sum in Section 1 and the pay-go transfer in Section 2.
Need a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? I'll just note, this simply gives the final budget number for our pay-go transfer, which takes it from $15 million to $15,051,210. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Bill 1095.
Bill 1095, Resolution amending Resolution 727, entitled Resolution Authorizing Appropriations in Salaries of the Stop the Violence Fund for the 2023 fiscal year beginning January 1, 2023, by updating the proposed expenditures for the 2023 fiscal year.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And this sets the final Stop the Violence Trust Fund amount from $8,298,699 to $8,300,981. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. And lastly, Bill 1096.
Bill 1096, Resolution amending Resolution 728, entitled Resolution Authorizing Appropriations, Salaries, and Capital Expenditures of the Parks Trust Fund for the 2023 fiscal year beginning January 1, 2023, by updating the transfer from the Parks Trust Fund to the 2023 capital budget.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? I'll simply note that the final amount for the Parks Trust Fund goes from $11,594,497 to $12,779,497. Any further discussion? Seeing none.
Mr. Chair, this is Councilwoman Gross.
Yes.
I apologize, I can't get my camera to work. I just wanted to state for the record that since the text file, like the line items for both the Parks Trust Fund and Stop the Violence Fund are not in the text files that are attached to these new papers. I think you just said it, but I just wanted to confirm that the total amounts, I'm assuming, correspond for both the Parks Trust Fund and Stop the Violence that we just voted on, are reflected in last week's standing committee meeting, or is it the week before? Like, how does the public match these final amounts, these totals down to the penny with the line items?
It was in last week's meeting.
Okay, so it's like it will be in the same agenda in Registar, basically, since we recessed last week's meeting.
Correct.
But it's just not in the text files for the new bills that you just related.
It is in the text files. In the files that Chris sent over earlier this morning, it was noted, the amendment was noted in each file.
Okay, no, yep. And so, like in Registar, it'll be linked to the same bill number, basically.
Correct.
Okay, no, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. All three bills will go on to today's regular meeting agenda. With that, we need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 We are adjourned, and I'll ask Madam President to come back up.
Okay, we need a motion to reconvene our regular meeting.
So move.
In a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And we are back to our regular meeting. And Councilman Lavelle, I want to just thank you for all the work you did on our budget this year. You did an amazing job, and just seeing you up here, I keep trying to get him to run for something bigger. Just watching him and working with him has been really amazing, so I just want to thank him for all his work, getting us through a crazy budget season. And this is the first time we had the budget that we didn't have Act 47, so it's been really an interesting year. Okay. With that said, we'll now move on to our next order of business, which is reports of committee for final action. And we'll begin with Councilman Lavelle, Committee on Finance and Law.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman.
Councilman Lavelle presents Bill Number 1086, reported to Committee on Finance and Law for December 19, 2022, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill 901, Resolution Updating and Amending the Rules of Council. Bill Number 1061, Ordinance Amending the City Code at Title I, Administrative, Article 3, Organization, Chapter 113, Mayor, by supplementing the sections related to the Office of Management and Budget. Bill Number 1062, Resolution amending Resolution 724 of 2021, authorizing the mayor and the director of the finance department to enter into a donation and professional services agreement or agreements with Pittsburgh Land Bank and GRB Law to document the donation of legal services relating to the performance of designated quiet title actions on behalf of the city of Pittsburgh and further pursuant to Chapter 210 of the City Code, acceptance of gifts to city, accepting the donation by Pittsburgh Land Bank of such legal services to be performed by GRB Law on behalf of the city to extend the term of the agreement or agreements until December 31st, 2023. Bill Number 1063, Ordinance amending the Pittsburgh Code, Title I, Administrative, Article 9, Boards, Commissions, and Authorities, Chapter 175.08, Art Commission, Ornamentation for Municipal Projects, Plan Review and Approval, and supplementing Pittsburgh Code, Title II, Fiscal, Article 1, Administration by adding Chapter 218.10%, for art. Bill Number 1064, Resolution providing for the creation of the Public Art Fund and setting conditions for the deposit and expenditures of such funds. Bill number 1080, resolution authorizing the city to enter into a cooperation agreement with the Housing Authority of the City of Pittsburgh to serve as co-applicant for the purposes of filing an application with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for a fiscal year 2022 Choice Neighborhoods Initiative grant in the amount of $50 million and pledging city financial support in the amount of $31,275,000 for the project and city-owned land to effectuate the purposes of the Bedford Dwellings Hill District Neighborhood Transformation Plan and its implementation strategy. Bill number 1085, resolution requiring a plan for the use of funds for the Food Justice Program before said funds are released to the Food Justice Fund. Bill number 1094, resolution amending Resolution 724 entitled Resolution Making Appropriations to pay the expenses of conducting the public business of the City of Pittsburgh and for meeting the debt charges thereof for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2023 by updating the general fund sum in Section 1 and the pay-go transfer in Section 2. Bill number 1095, resolution amending Resolution 727 entitled Resolution Authorizing Appropriations and Salaries of the Stop the Violence Fund for the 2023 fiscal year beginning January 1, 2023 by updating the proposed expenditures for the 2023 fiscal year. And Bill number 1096, resolution amending Resolution 728 entitled Resolution Authorizing Appropriations, Salaries, and Capital Expenditures of the Parks Trust Fund for the 2023 fiscal year beginning January 1, 2023 by updating the transfer from the Parks Trust Fund to the 2023 capital budget.
Thank you. You've heard the reading and the title of the bills. Is there any discussion on the bills? I'm just going to just say I'm actually glad to vote for the Stop the Violence Trust Fund, putting more money into salaries, because I think that's what public dollars are supposed to be for. And honestly, if we hired everyone as part-time employees or seasonal employees, I'd be okay with that too. But I just I don't feel comfortable giving a lot of money. I keep talking about this to a lot of different organizations without any measurable outcomes. And what I'm going to say is that we are working with Ricky Moody and our solicitor and others to make sure that we're using those funds, and our budget director to make sure we're using those funds in the most beneficial way to the public and with a lot of accountability. Okay, with that said, is there any other further discussion? The bills are now ready for final action. All in favor of the passage will vote aye when their name is called. Those opposed will vote no. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Coghill.
Aye.
Ms. Gross.
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle.
Aye.
Mrs. Strasburger.
Aye.
Ms. Warwick.
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
Mrs. Keelsmith, President.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
Thank you. The bills have received the legally required number of votes is finally passed. And Councilman Bruce Kraus, Committee on Public Safety Services. Councilman Lavelle for Councilman Kraus, please. Thank you, Councilman.
Councilman Kraus presents Bill number 1087, reported at Committee on Public Safety Services for December 19, 2022, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill 1059, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Public Safety to enter into an agreement or agreements with Allegheny Singer Research Institute, doing business as AHN Research Institute for Professional Services, relating to the administration, implementation, and expansion of the Reaching Out on the Streets Roots program for sum not to exceed $9,960,000 through 2024, and for the payment of the cost thereof.
Thank you. You've heard the reading of the title of the bills. Is there any discussion on the bills? Seeing none, the bill is now ready for final passage, final action. All in favor of the passage, vote aye when the name is called. Those opposed will vote no. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Coghill.
Aye.
Ms. Gross.
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle.
Aye.
Mrs. Strasburger.
Aye.
Ms. Warwick.
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
Mrs. Kelsmith, President.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
Thank you. The bill, having received the legally required number of votes, is finally passed. And that moves us on to Councilman Anthony Coghill, Committee on Public Works.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman.
Councilman Coghill presents Bill Number 1088, reported to Committee on Public Works for December 19, 2022, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill 1053, resolution granting a vacation of an unopened, unimproved, unused 10-foot alley located between Arundel Street and Dalton Avenue in the 26th Ward, 1st Council District. Bill 1054, resolution providing for a retroactive bridge maintenance reimbursement agreement or agreements with Pennsylvania Department of Transportation for local costs associated with work performed by PennDOT on the Woodruff Bridge for immediate repairs and maintenance at a cost not to exceed $44,396.80. Bill 1055, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure on behalf of the city of Pittsburgh to enter into a temporary license agreement with Allegheny County to provide access for the city to use a portion of property owned by Allegheny County as a temporary construction area for purpose of staging construction equipment, materials, and supplies needed for landslide remediation and stabilization of William Street. Bill 1056, resolution authorizing the Director of the Department of Finance and the Director of the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure on behalf of the City of Pittsburgh to enter into an agreement of sale with various property owners in the 18th and 19th wards of the city in order to advance the Mount Washington landslide remediation project. And Bill Number 1057, resolution authorizing the Director of the Department of Finance and the Director of the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure on behalf of the City of Pittsburgh to enter into certain temporary construction easements on certain properties in the 19th Ward of the city in order to advance the Mount Washington landslide remediation project.
Thank you. You've heard the reading of the title of the bills. Is there any discussion on the bills? I would just add that I'm, very grateful to Congressman Doyle for getting us so much money for Mount Washington. Congressman Doyle, Senator Fontana did an amazing job helping us get those dollars, and the previous administration. But I also want to thank the current administration and the current director of DOMI, and everyone who's working on these projects. It's not often you see District 2 having so many projects, and I'm really grateful for the work that they're doing. And I want to thank Director Lucas and her team. And thank you, Councilman Coghill, for always advocating for us, too.
Thank you.
You have, well, one of us advocates and one of us fights. You have heard the reading of the title of the bills. Is there any discussion on the bills? Further discussion? Seeing none, the bills are now ready for final action. All in favor of the passage will vote aye when the name is called. Those opposed will vote no. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Coghill.
Aye.
Ms. Gross.
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle.
Aye.
Mrs. Strasburger.
Aye.
Ms. Warwick.
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
Mrs. Kelsmith, President.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
Thank you. The bills, having received the legally required number of votes, are finally passed. And now we move on to Councilwoman Erica Strasburger, Committee on Urban Recreation. Councilwoman Strasburger?
Sorry, I was having trouble getting off of mute. No papers, Madam President.
It reports to committee for final action. Madam Clerk? She doesn't have any? She's on this agenda. Okay.
I don't see it on my
Okay,
agenda.
thank you. It's on my sheets. I apologize, Councilwoman. It's on my sheet here.
Oh, okay.
Thanks. And Councilwoman Deborah Gross, Committee on Intergovernmental Affairs? No, wait.
Madam President, I think I have final papers.
Thank you. And Councilman Bobby Wilson. No, wait. Let me just go through this real quick. Put my glasses on. So I have Councilwoman Strasburg and I have Councilwoman Gross. Do you have anyone else, Madam President? Madam Clerk? You don't have them on your sheet? Okay, I don't have Councilman Wilson. Councilman Wilson.
Thank you, Madam President.
They're out of order. Okay, Registrar put the paperwork out of order, so Madam Clerk's going to guide us through it a little bit here. Okay, thank you. Okay, Councilwoman Warwick.
But I see Councilwoman Gross has papers on mine.
Does she?
Yeah, that's at the end.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay.
That's why they're out of order.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman.
Councilwoman Warwick presents Bill Number 1090, reported to Committee on Innovation, Performance, and Asset Management for December 19, 2022, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill 1066, Resolution Amending Resolution 420 of 2022, a resolution authorizing an agreement or agreements or amendments thereto with eDocs Technologies for licensing services and maintenance and support services to provide document management services to include Department of Mobility and Infrastructure documents at an additional cost not to exceed $20,500.
Thank you. You've heard the reading and title of the bill. Is there any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, the bill is now ready for final action. All in favor of passage will vote aye when their name is called. Those opposed will vote no. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Coghill.
Aye.
Ms. Gross.
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle.
Aye.
Mrs. Strasburger.
Aye.
Mrs. Warwick.
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
Mrs. Kelsmith, President.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
Thank you. The bill, having received the legally required number of votes, is finally passed. And that moves us on to Councilman Wilson, Committee on Land Use and Economic Development.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman.
Councilman Wilson presents Bill Number 1089, reported to Committee on Land Use and Economic Development for December 19, 2022, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill 817, Ordinance amending the Pittsburgh Code Title 9 Zoning, Article 1, Section 902.03 zoning map by changing from LN, Local Neighborhood Commercial, to UI, Urban Industrial, 3 parcels in the Allegheny County Block and Lot System, 12th Ward. Bill 856, Resolution providing for the designation as a historic structure under Title 11 of the Code of Ordinances, the certain property known as 412 Boulevard of the Allies, located at 412 Boulevard of the Allies in downtown in the 1st Ward, City of Pittsburgh. The city is the owner of the property. Bill 1067, Resolution further amending Resolution Number 886 of 2021, effective December 27, 2021, as amended, entitled Resolution Adopting and Approving the 2022 Capital Budget and the 2022 Community Development Block Grant Program and the 2022 through 2027 Capital Improvement Program, so as to identify specific public service grant projects in City Council District 6 and projects of the Mayor's Office, and authorize a subsequent agreement or agreements for operation, administrative expenses, maintenance, purchase of equipment, and or rehabilitation of neighborhood facilities on behalf of the residents of the City of Pittsburgh. Bill 1068, Resolution closing out Community Conservation Partnerships Program Grant Project, BRC Tag 23238, a grant received from the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources to prepare a master plan for the city-owned properties associated with the Emerald View Park. Bill 1069, Resolution amending the Pittsburgh Code, Title I, Administrative, Article 9, Boards, Commissions, and Authorities, Chapter 175, Art Commission, to transition the Art Commission into the Public Art and Civic Design Commission.
Thank you. You've heard the reading of the title of the bills. Is there any discussion on the bills? Again, I just want to thank the administration for the Emerald View Park Trail project and the committee that's been working on it. Any further comments? Seeing none, the bills are now ready for final action. All in favor of the passage, vote aye when their name is called. Those opposed will vote no. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Coghill.
Aye.
Ms. Gross.
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle.
Aye.
Mrs. Strasburger.
Aye.
Ms. Warwick.
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
Mrs. Kelsmith, President.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
Thank you. The bills having received the legally required number of votes are finally passed. And that moves us on to Councilwoman Gross, Committee on Intergovernmental Affairs.
Thank you, Madam President.
Councilwoman Gross presents Bill number 1091, reported to Committee on Intergovernmental Affairs for December 19, 2022, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill 1058, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of finance to enter into a permanent easement with the Pittsburgh Water and Sewer Authority and Peoples Natural Gas Company for the installation, maintenance, repair, operation, and removal of a natural gas pipeline on city-owned properties.
Thank you. You've heard the reading of the title of the bill. Is there any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, the bill is now ready for final action. All in favor of the passage, vote aye when their name is called. Those opposed will vote no. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Coghill.
Aye.
Ms. Gross.
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle.
Aye.
Mrs. Strasburger.
Aye.
Ms. Warwick.
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
Mrs. Kelsmith, President.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
The bills having received the legally required number. The bill having received the legally required number of votes are finally passed, and that moves us on to motions and resolutions. And I have a few meeting announcements. There are no more council meetings for the rest of this year. Next Monday, January 2nd, council and clerk offices will be closed in observance of the New Year holiday. Next Wednesday, January 4th, council will hold our regular meeting at 10 a.m. and the standing committees meeting at 1:30 p.m. Speaker registration will close at 9 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. respectively. To register to speak at these meetings and hearings, please fill out the sign-up form on the council's meeting webpage. You may also call the city clerk's office at 412-255-2138. Is there anything from members? Councilman Coghill.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I just really wanted to acknowledge all the work you're doing up in Mount Washington, whether it's Emerald View Park, the new sidewalks up there. As you know, I frequent it often, and it's really all coming together. I hear, the critics as you do, whether it's a speed bump or, whatever we're doing there. But the infrastructure that you put in place up there, and it's really seems to all come together. It's safer, it's beautiful, and it's loaded with tourists. So appreciate all the work you do up there.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you very much for your help and your
Sure.
partnership. You and Councilman Kraus have always been there when we needed votes, so I thank you very much for your help, too. Is there anything else from members? And, well, then I'm just going to say that, City Council offers our condolences to Franco Harris's family and to the people that we included during our moment of silence. But I also want to acknowledge that the Steelers do some amazing work in my district. They work a lot with Christy Porter at the Jasmine Nairi campus, which is a place where people who have disabilities who age out of the system, at 21 they age out of the system, they'll be able to stay and live there. They have a free quality after-school program for the kids in the community. And they're just doing they have our employment center. They're doing a lot of things there. And a lot of that wouldn't be possible if it were not for the Pittsburgh Steelers and the money that they donate, and Congressman Doyle, Senator Fontana, for the money that they bring into that area as well, and the mayor's office and others. So I just want to thank everyone in the URA. I want to thank everyone for their work in that area. This weekend, or this Christmas weekend, they were able to distribute hundreds of toys, meals, giveaways and coats, because Jerome Bettis found his foundation, the Stop the Bus Foundation, and Charlie Batch's foundation, and the Steelers, and others that contributed to it, including the Shine Award. So a lot of people contributed and made that possible there. But I also want to thank the Pittsburgh Penguins because of their allowing Sister Mary and the Salt Save a Life Today, which you also donated to, Councilman Coghill, allowed them to have their event there again this year. They have an annual holiday event there. And this year, because of the need in the city, it just shows you what need there really is. She registered 1,600 children for that program, and hundreds of families. And then later on, and I've been talking to her all week, she has still been taking care of families who called and missed it. And so I want to thank the Penguins for their contributions to her and to the other people that donate to her as well. So I just want to make sure we acknowledge them and thank everyone for all the things that they've been doing to make sure our city of Pittsburgh residents are able to celebrate their holidays with some dignity. And I also want to thank the food bank because they donated Christmas dinners for all those families as well. So also last, I want to say what a great job our Department of Public Works did and on the snow this week. I'm not saying that their absence of complaints, we're always going to have something, but I think overall, I think it worked. I think it was really good. I think that they did a great job. It was really horrible conditions, and yet they managed to get that ice. It was more ice than it was snow off the roads rather quickly. So I want to acknowledge our crews, the director, and Councilman Coghill for your work in chairing that committee and making sure that they're doing more there. But I also want to acknowledge the mayor's office for the work that they're doing, increasing the resources that the crews need to do the job. I mean, we want them to do a job, and then we don't give them the resources. So it really was a team effort. So I want to thank everyone for their work and hope that it continues down this path, that we continue to give our residents better snow and ice removal. I'm still not a fan of the tracker, though. I'm going to add that in there. Did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I'm a fan of the tracker as long as we can light it up like we did over the past storm. But no, I also want to echo your comments. Specifically, Director Hornstein had a meeting with the 4th Division, and he went down there, and they were thinking, oh boy, he's coming to scream and yell at us because we kind of got caught off guard on the first storm. But it was anything but that. And, the men and women in Public Works Division couldn't have been more pleased with his approach. He was like, the past is the past. We're moving on. And, this past storm, I felt like we were well-staffed. We were well-prepared. And really, the communication level was what I really expected to be, So got the Jake report every 4 hours or so, and I thought that was helpful. But just kudos to the administration, to Director Hornstein and Public Works overall for doing a really good job, very well prepared. Makes me feel a lot better going into this winter that, we can do the job like that. So I expect it every time, and I feel like we will have it now. I feel like we're moving in the right direction.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councilwoman.
Yeah, I also just wanted to say a thank you to Superintendent Crean. I will say that, for just those odd little dead-end streets, that don't get missed when, folks got in touch with my office, and I sent out notes to the superintendent, and they were taken care of right away within hours. So just a huge, big kudos there, and I really, really appreciate it. And I know that my constituents do too. So thank you.
So can I just say that, Councilwoman Warwick, you are really handling things so quickly, and you immediately called to see what could be done. So I just want your constituents to know that through that storm, you were also working on all those things and making sure that they were getting the treatment and service that they deserve as well. So thank you for your work. And I do want to thank Jake Paula, because not only did he give us updates every few hours, he was supposed to be away today, and I saw him in here. So he's constantly working, and so I want to thank him for his work as well, and all the administration for working the center, wherever I can't remember what it's called, but we're making sure that they were getting the services out to the public. I do want to say I do have concerns about not calling 311, but that's an issue we'll address. Let's focus on the positive today, and today the positive was they did a great job, the crews. So thank you to the crews and the supervisors and everyone above them for their work. Can I have a motion to recess the meeting? Or, I'm sorry, adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Approve the minutes, excuse the absent member, and adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.